This here is an update to the situation of the two missing Wisconsin rancher brothers who disappeared in northern Missouri after meeting up with a supposed another cattle ranch hand that was going to supposedly, I assume, sell them some cattle, and they came down here with some cash and evidently got murdered and their cash stolen and then their vehicle abandoned at a roadside park and ride in northern Missouri. So here's an update on the situation of these two missing brothers who went missing in northern Missouri. Let's watch the video clips.
Good afternoon, Sheriff Larry Fish, Clinton County, and also with me is Sheriff Jerry Galloway from Caldwell County. Just going to give you guys a very brief update. Won't be able to give you guys any questions or answers afterwards, but we want to let you guys know as continuing of the investigation, we do have a suspect in custody. We're not releasing any of the charges at this time, as we're still pending in a full investigation into this. At this time, we're still actively working. It's very methodical, very detailed searching. As you guys have seen today, been out here. We have had dogs and other things like that working out here. We're continuing to update you guys on this situation. It has changed from a missing persons case over to a death investigation. We don't have any further comments at this time. I will let you guys know that tomorrow about 4:30 we will also give you guys another press release.
So I have a clarification for you, not a question.
I got to get going, guys.
You said yeah, we have the court documents for Nelson. Is that the same suspect you're talking about?
I can't right now. I can't release that until the investigators tell us.
Okay.
It's confirmed for us what's in the documents that the tampering with the motor vehicle charge was for the Deemel's rental truck, and that Nelson drove the truck from here to.
Right now.
Is he the suspect in the death investigation?
You live now to Bramer, Missouri. We are getting an update live for you now from authorities about that search for those two missing brothers from Wisconsin. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Just going to give you guys a very brief update. Won't be able to give you guys any questions or answers afterwards, but we want to let you guys know as continuing of the investigation, we do have a suspect in custody. We're not releasing any of the charges at this time, as we're still pending in a full investigation into this. At this time, we're still actively working. It's very methodical, very detailed searching. As you guys have seen today, been out here. We have had dogs and other things like that working out here. We're continuing to update you guys on the situation. It has changed from a missing persons case over to a death investigation. We don't have any further comments at this time. I will let you guys know that tomorrow about 4:30 we will also give you guys another press release.
So I have a clarification.
Thank you.
For you, not a question.
I got to get going, guys.
Investigation?
Yep, I got to get going, guys.
They do not seem to be answering many questions at this time, other than the new development stating that someone, understandably the homeowner of the property they've been searching there in Braemore, is now in custody. Charges have come down against him. Apparently something about tampering with a vehicle, assuming that's the vehicle that these two brothers were traveling in when they went to this farm for a visit. As you could see there, our KCTV5 Nathan Vickers is out there as the police canines are also involved in the search. They call it a very methodical search, not only of this property, but actually property in a few different counties. But one very important fact that they just mentioned there in the press conference is that this missing persons case, as it's been called for a couple of days now, has now been officially considered a death investigation, which means to us that we believe something has been found on that property, leading them to believe that these brothers were somehow killed, likely over the weekend on Sunday when they arrived here to this farm for apparently some sort of farming business. Obviously, a lot of questions still remain for sure for the family of these two brothers in Wisconsin, waiting to hear word about what has happened to these two men. We're going to go to KCTV5's Nathan Vickers now for the very latest. And Nathan, I understand there were some court documents just released. Have you had a chance to scan through these yet?
Yeah, I have the court documents right here on my phone, and I'm pulling them up now. So if you heard that update from the Caldwell County Sheriff a little bit ago, Larry Fish, sorry, he's the Clinton County Sheriff. He just came out and told us that they do have a suspect in custody right now. They're not saying who that suspect is. However, we have court documents here saying that Garland Nelson, the owner of this property, was charged with tampering with a motor vehicle. And as we go through those court documents, we're finding that that was the Diemels rental truck. It says that the Diemels had visited this property and that Nelson had driven the truck back to Holt where he abandoned it. One other really important thing of note, the sheriff just told us that this has changed from a missing persons investigation to a death investigation. So we've seen dogs out here searching all day. We've seen them narrow the focus of their search all day. And we now know that they are looking for the remains of the two Diemel brothers. So we're continuing to go through those court documents to find out what we know. And as the sheriff said, they do have someone in custody. We're assuming that that person is Garland Nelson, the person who we know has been charged with tampering with a motor vehicle.
Now, Nathan, do you have any idea yet, or have you understood what type of business the two brothers had with the property owner there? What were they doing together?
We don't know right now exactly what business the Diemels had with Nelson, but we do know that the Diemels have a livestock company with thousands of cattle throughout the country. They hire ranchers to feed those cattle for them, and that they do have some ranchers in this area that they work with. Now, we don't know if Mr. Nelson was one of those ranchers or if he was potentially going to be one of those ranchers, if that's what they were negotiating, but we do know that the Diemels have a large livestock company and that they do meet with livestock producers all over the state.
Well, one thing's for sure, Nathan, you feel for the family of these brothers who just are at a loss of what could have happened. Have you heard from the family at all? Are they in town by now?
There are some family members who have been here watching the search, some extended family, as well as some employees of the Diemels. We've also heard that the wife of Nick Diemel is coming into town tonight. And we've also heard that there's a vigil tonight in the town of Bramer, just down the road at the high school. People will be gathering to pray for that family as well. And we think that family members are also going to be at that vigil.
Yeah, we sure feel for them. Nathan, thank you so much for that update this afternoon. We'll talk to you again here throughout the evening.
Documents say Garland Joseph Nelson, who farms property the brothers visited near Bramer, drove their rental truck to a commuter lot near Holt and left it there. The search for the pair spans Clinton and Caldwell counties, but it's concentrated on the farm tied to Nelson. That's where we find Fox 4's Alana LaFleur. She just spoke to the Caldwell County Sheriff about the investigation. Alana?
Nelson, the man who farms here, is charged with tampering with the Diemels rental truck. He was booked into jail late this afternoon. The Clinton County Sheriff will not say whether or not he's also the suspect in the death investigation. So here's the background on the missing persons case turned death investigation. The Diemel brothers, Nick and Justin, owned a cattle company and flew into Kansas City Saturday to do business all the way from Wisconsin. They were supposed to check out the farm tied to Nelson, according to detectives. The last time anyone saw or heard from them was Sunday morning near Cameron, Missouri. Investigators found their abandoned rental truck in Holt, Missouri on Monday. Nick's wife told Fox 4 their phones and wallets were not in the rental. According to court documents, Nelson told investigators that he drove the truck rented by the Diemels and left it in a commuter lot. When authorities found it, the keys were still in the ignition. The black box from the truck says it left the hotel where the brothers were staying. Workers did see them check out of the hotel, and then the truck went to the farm on Southeast Ayers Road where Nelson farmed. A couple hours later, that black box showed the truck left the farm, went to a gas station and a bank, and then pulled into that commuter lot. There did not appear to be a passenger in any of the security video of that truck. Last night, the brothers' hometown in Wisconsin held a vigil for them, and tonight, in solidarity, there will be another prayer service at the Bramer School at 8 o'clock. The organizer is a complete stranger to the men and their family, but wants the family to know that everyone here is thinking about them, praying for them, and doing whatever they can to support them. The organizer says she's still in shock and emotional that this is now a death investigation.
It's sad that there's somebody that is amongst us in our small community that could even think of such of an act, I guess. I don't know. It's just sad.
That prayer service, again, is at the Braemar Public School tonight at 8 o'clock in the parking lot. Nelson is being held without bond.
The breaking news is out of Caldwell County, Missouri, where a property owner is charged in connection to the disappearance of two brothers.
The man owns a farm in Braemar. It's a farm those brothers visited for their livestock business. There is a live news conference going on right now with the sheriff. Let's listen in.
We want to let you guys know, as continuing of the investigation, we do have a suspect in custody. We're not releasing any of the charges at this time, as we're still pending in a full investigation into this. At this time, we're still actively working. It's very methodical, very detailed searching. As you guys have seen today, been out here. We have had dogs and other things like that working out here. We're continuing to update you guys on the situation. It has changed from a missing persons case over to a death investigation. We don't have any further comments at this time. I will let you guys know that tomorrow about 4:30 we will also give you guys another press release.
So I have a clarification for you, not a question.
I got to get going.
You said yeah, we have the court documents for Nelson. Is that the same suspect you're talking about?
I can't right now. I can't release that until the investigators tell us.
Can you confirm for us what's in the documents, that the tampering with the motor vehicle charge was for the Demels rental truck, and that Nelson drove the truck from here to...
Can't right now.
Is he the suspect in the death investigation?
Thank you.
Okay, so we just heard from the Clinton County Sheriff, Larry Fish, saying that this has now changed over to a death investigation. Again, we just had confirmed through court documents that Garland Joey Nelson, who we know does live in the home on this property in Braemar where the Demel brothers were doing business. We know that he is charged in connection to the case, charged with tampering with the vehicle in connection to the missing brothers case, and it is a felony charge. We've been told he is in the Caldwell County Detention Center right now, and I know that we do have a mugshot that we're going to try to get up and show to you as well. So again, the Clinton County Sheriff's Office right now is not commenting on why exactly this has changed over to a death investigation. He didn't say what evidence may have been found that led them in that way, but again, we did see those dogs searching today all over the property with some canine officers trying to find any sign of the brothers, any clues at all. We also got aerial video of investigators digging through dirt today and also going through on big sifting tables trying to find anything in any of that dirt. So again, it has still been a very active investigation right now. I think you may be seeing some of the video from earlier today, some of the aerial video. But again, right now, all we know is that the family has been notified as well that this is now a death investigation. I just was up the road near the house on the property and saw the family members speaking with law enforcement members. They got in their trucks quickly, 2 trucks, and drove off, left the area, left the scene. So we were not able to speak with the family after they were given information. We're not sure if the sheriff's departments have given the families different information than they told to us. But again, no longer a search and rescue effort, but a recovery effort rather, and a death investigation now here on this Braemar farm, this farm in Braemar, Missouri. So we're going to continue to get you more updates on the charges against this suspect. Right now, the only charges are in association with tampering with that vehicle. We believe that rental vehicle that was found in Holt, that was the brothers. No connection, no word yet on whether Garland Nelson is actually connected to what they believe is the brothers' death now. So we'll be back with an update at 5 o'clock. Reporting live in Braemar, Emily Welsh, KMBC 9 News.
Well, I tell you what, just no damned excuse in this shit whatsoever. Murdered 2 innocent young men just for their money. And both those men leave behind families. One with 4 kids and a wife, and the other a girlfriend. Now those 4 kids and his wife got to grow up without their father. All because of some crackhead meth head from up in northern Missouri. Needed some money and murdered him. And that's what it boils down to. A bunch of crackheads and goddamn meth heads up there in Missouri. 25-year-old punk-ass kid. Where'd he get the money to run that farm in the first place? He's into something else besides farming. I can guarantee you that. 25-year-old punk-ass kid. Well, if it were up to me, he'd be hanged in public. Damn sure on that. And the other thing you need to remember is earlier in the video, it stated that this suspect, this Garland Nelson, drove that truck and parked it in that share-a-ride lot with the headlights on and the motor running. Now, if that vehicle didn't belong to him and those two brothers rented it, why would the suspect drive it to a share-a-ride lot, leave the headlights on, and leave it running? Ask yourself that question if he wasn't involved in their murders. The other thing you need to keep in mind is he drove that truck to that share-a-ride lot, parked it with the headlights on and the motor running. That means he did not walk all the way back to his house. Somebody, an accomplice, had to pick him up and take him back to his house. So there's other accomplices involved that haven't been mentioned or brought out yet. But if you're an accomplice in this, and you see this video, you best turn yourself into the law. Because they're going to put out an APB on your ass. You will be found. You may be shot. You're an accomplice to a murder. You knowingly picked him up. You know he left the headlights on in that lot when you picked him up and you didn't ask him why he left the headlights on. You're an accomplice to a murder. So he had other accomplices. There's more than one person involved in these murders of these two cattle ranchers from Wisconsin. And I guarantee you, there's got to be more than just him, the suspect, involved. He don't look intelligent enough to try to dispose of two bodies that he murdered on his own. There's other accomplices involved in this besides just the suspect that they're mentioning. This is going to get better as the days and weeks goes on, and I'll keep you updated and briefed on what we found out. But you can bet your ass there's more accomplices involved in this than just the suspect. But thankfully, we got special agents like Jerry Flowers who go after these cattle rustlers. Go after him, arrest him. Lord forbid should he have to shoot one of them. But he damn sure will. You can tell by looking at him. He won't think twice about doing it. Special Agent, Chief Agent Jerry Flowers. Get a good look at him, because you don't want to cross his path. Jerry Flowers, Special Agent in charge of going after cattle rustlers across the Midwest.
So I joined the Oklahoma City Police Department in 1974. When I retired in 2008, I was at home watching Young and the Restless on the TV when my wife came through there and she said, "You will find something to do." Back in the 1800s, you get caught stealing cattle, what happened? They'd find a rope and they'd find a tree and they'd stamp your ticket right there. Hey, what you got, man?
The rancher called me. He had yesterday morning about 10 steers that were in his corral, and when he got here yesterday afternoon, they were gone.
Cattle rustling is really lucrative for the people who steal these cattle. If I steal your TV that you spent $2,000 for, I maybe get $50 for it. But the cattle aren't like that. If I steal your cow, I can take that cow to a livestock market, and it's going to bring $1,200, $1,500 a head. It's quick money if you don't get caught. This tracks right here looks like they've got out. We want to stop this kind of thing happening. But what these guys, when we arrest these people when they're stealing cattle, it is not uncommon anymore. We hear it every day. The reason why is because of their addictions to meth. People steal cattle in this state just like they did way back in the 1800s. Only today they use more technical equipment such as nice trailers, big trucks, cell phones, and anything else to help move these cattle that are stolen. In Oklahoma, my agents and I will investigate anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 head of cattle reported were stolen just to us every year. And we will recover somewhere between $5 and $6 million worth of stolen cattle and equipment annually. One of the things that we see that most of our investigations have in common are the outlaws that we arrest are users of illegal narcotics. We find that most often here in Oklahoma to be methamphetamines. Methamphetamines it shows no sympathy for anybody who uses it. Once you try a drug as powerful as meth, you're addicted to it. And that's what we see most of the time happen to these outlaws that we chase that are stealing cattle.
And again, in many cases, the rustlers are doing it to get drug money for meth. Now, as for this case, Chief Agent Jerry Flowers say they've identified 5 suspects now. These 2 men have been arrested so far, accused of stealing from even more ranches in Oklahoma.
Well, if you're not guilty of these 2 murders, then why'd you dump their vehicle in a park and ride lot with the headlights on and the motor running? They're supposed to meet up with you, so right now it looks like you're the one that's guilty of their murders. You look like a punk-ass kid. You're 25 years old, Garland Joey Nelson. I'm sure your family's real proud of you. I'll bet if we looked into your background, you've been a problem child since the day you were born. You look like a problem child. You just killed 2 innocent men, ranchers from Wisconsin. One of them is now deceased, and you've left the family, his wife, and 4 kids without a father. That makes you a chicken shit piece of crap in my book. A degenerate, no good son of a bitch. And to your accomplices, you're no better than he is. You're a degenerate, no good piece of shit too. And frankly, if I was the victims, the wife and that girlfriend of these 2 murdered men, I'd get me a goddamn good attorney, and I'd sue the living shit out of you for everything you got, including your house and your farm or ranch, whatever you want to call it, your family, meaning your mother and your father, as well as any accomplices. I want every dime you got. That's what the victims' families ought to do. They ought to sue you, file a huge lawsuit against you, and take possession of your ranch, your farm, your house, your property, your vehicles, any bank accounts, as well as your families. Teach ye some of bitches a lesson. Something tells me you got a drug problem. You're a meth head, a tweaker. You're stealing cows and horses and selling them at auctions. They ain't even yours to sell. So you can fuel your drug addiction, your illegal drug addiction, like the rest of you worthless, degenerate tweakers and meth heads out there. You're all a bunch of pieces of shit in my book. I can't believe you murdered 2 young men, cattle ranchers from Wisconsin, leaving his wife with 4 daughters or 4 kids to raise on her own, and left a girlfriend without her boyfriend. That makes you a degenerate piece of shit in my book, Mr. Garland Joey Nelson of northern Missouri. If it were up to me, once those bodies are found and there's evidence, you'd be hanged publicly, in public. Send a message to the rest of these degenerate scoundrel bastards out there. Well, you're innocent till proven guilty in this country, and that's the way it ought to be. But the evidence is mounting against you, Mr. Nelson. You're going to be found guilty, as well as your accomplices. If you didn't have accomplices, then who picked you up at the parking ride from the vehicle that you commandeered away from them and after you murdered them? You didn't walk back to that house on your own. You called somebody and they picked you up from that parking ride. And that accomplice was there when you exited that vehicle and left the lights on, I'd have been asking questions. There's accomplices involved, whether it's a 1 or 2 or 3. But you accomplices, whoever you are, know who you are, and know the circumstances. You better turn yourself into the law, and you better do it damn quick. That's all I've got to say.